Commandcentre is where we tell you the ongoing successes on the war against terror. It will give you a panorama. In the face of an ongoing insurgency in the northeast. Good day. You are welcome to your favorite program, Commandcentre, live from the Silverbird Television Abuja News Studios. We'll bring you up to speed on the war against terror. My name is Amadin Uyi, and I am your host on this program. The Nigerian military has performed creditably well in the northeast in containing the Boko Haram insurgency. In the last 2 years, territories have been recovered from the terrorists. Many experts say this has been largely due to training and retraining of military personnel. The Commandcentre joined the Guards Brigade recently at its obstacle training competition, and we also had a special guest in attendance, the Director of Lands from the Defense Headquarters, Brigadier General Tari Timiye Gagariga, who warned the personnel to take advantage of the training, especially in the light of asymmetrical warfare by the changing tactics of asymmetrical warfare by the terrorists. We also had time to speak to the Director of Public Relations and Information of the Nigerian Air Force, who brought us up to speed on efforts by the Air Force in containing the Boko Haram terrorists. You can join the conversation via Facebook page, STV Commandcentre, and like our Twitter handle at Commandcentre16. Stay tuned.
Terrorism is not jihad. It is cruel, wicked, and man's inhumanity to man. Both Islam and Christianity abhor the killings of the weak and defenseless. There can be no development without peace and security. See something, say something. Let's give peace a chance.
Welcome back. We earlier said that the Director of Lands from the Defense Headquarters was on ground with Commandcentre as the Nigerian Army trained its personnel with a focus on the changing tactics by Boko Haram terrorists from conventional warfare to asymmetrical warfare. Let's watch this video.
Training and retraining of the Nigerian Army personnel is necessary so as to prepare and develop counter strategies to adequately deal with the evolving security challenges. You must also not forget the attendant consequences of the asymmetric dimension of the security challenges, and this requires constant training at all levels, the event of this nature is intended to enhance troops' physical fitness, combat survival, as well as confidence and team spirit. It would also build the capacity of the participating units and enhance the Guards Brigade combat proficiency. I am therefore delighted that the brigade is making efforts to improve professional standards through training. On this note, I want to encourage the brigade to continue to train hard and realistically to meet up with contemporary security challenges and demand for security. As it is said, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war.
That was a training by the Guards Brigade for its personnel. The 5 different units of the Guards Brigade were on ground for that training. The Guards Brigade garrison, the 106 Guards Battalion, the 177 Guards Battalion, the 103 Guards Battalion, and the 7 Guards Battalion. Also, the Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General John Eneche, assured Nigerians that the Nigerian Army will not relent in its effort to curb the recent suicide attacks that we have been hearing from parts of the Northeast. Brigadier General Eneche said the Nigerian Army is on ground and is doing everything possible to ensure that terrorism is a thing of the past. Let's watch this video.
I want to say again, I keep repeating it. If you study the dynamics of terrorism, I don't want to mention any country or go back to history. That is the way it goes. People, it does not take a day to indoctrinate somebody to become a suicide bomber. It's a process. And I want to tell you that of all the groups that form the terrorism group, it is the most difficult to handle. What you are seeing, like I said, is that, and I will repeat it, it's not an increase. It is the diehards who cannot be de-indoctrinated or de-radicalized within their cells. Otherwise, look at it. Once they are sighted, even before they are apprehended, they detonate the explosives and kill themselves. Those ones have made up their mind. So I told you that just give it time. That is the natural way that those ones are going to be decimated. And again, I say that let the general public be encouraged that recruitment, enlistment, them for gaining more people into their source of conscription and all, like they go capture and all, that one, I think is almost close to zero now. You don't find them going to a village, going somewhere, and then going to capture new people. It is the remnants that are decimated that you are seeing. So it is not an upsurge in any way at all. And you are all aware that particularly in Maiduguri and the environs, we have military walking dogs, that are all over the whole of that place. They are helping a lot. And I want to assure you at the general public that in less than no time, you see better results.
Also, Commandcentre had a special time with the Director of Public Relations and Information of the Nigerian Air Force, Air Commodore Olatokunbo Adesanya. He gave us an overview of the Air Force efforts in the Northeast and around the country, especially other areas of operations around the country. He also gave us an insight on the Air Force acquisition of new aircraft in a bid to increase its platforms and engage the terrorists to ensure that crime and criminality are a thing of the past. From a general point of view, there are some that think that the Air Force achieved much in 2016 in trying to complement the efforts against terrorists and criminal elements around the country. What is your view on your performance against Boko Haram?
I'm happy that you acknowledge indeed the great role played by the Nigerian Air Force in the year 2016, especially with regards to the ongoing counterinsurgency campaign in the eastern part of Nigeria, and indeed in the other parts of the nation. Clearly, having done what Nigerian Force did between 2016 and now, as it is known globally, insurgency, it's not a campaign that can be said to have been totally defeated at any go. What is most important is to be able to decimate the Boko Haram insurgents. And in this case, that has been clearly done. Their ability to operate freely has been clearly limited, and indeed they are in disarray. What the Nigerian Air Force is currently doing is to consolidate on this achievement, and in that regard, we are taking steps to clear the remnants of the Boko Haram insurgents and making sure that they do not in any way gather again towards being able to become a formidable force.
The Air Force has established several bases in recent times. I recall the recent forward operating base at Gusau in Zamfara State, and most of your personnel have done extremely well. What is the secret behind this?
I think I would like to start by crediting the current federal government administration. I can say clearly that in the past 2 years or thereabout, the President Buhari administration has indeed been able to create the enabling environment for the Nigerian Air Force to operate. Before now, there were challenges here and there, but one thing that this current administration has done is to release sufficient resources to enable the Nigerian Air Force operate more effectively. Although the resources can never be enough, the Air Force being a highly capital-intensive service, but I can say that a lot has been done in this regard. So what has happened and why you find the morale of the men to be high is first, the leadership of the Nigerian Air Force is one that is focused, and there are clearly defined key drivers of a mission, which is basically to professionalize the Nigerian Air Force. And you find that along this line, one of the things that the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, takes very note of is the welfare of personnel. He believes strongly that without the welfare, whatever bullets, whatever ammunition you have cannot be effective. We need the men, that's a human resource, to be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. So a lot is being done to address the welfare of the personnel. Before now, we had situations where, for instance, in the Northeast, you had up to 7 men sharing an accommodation. So in order to address this, right across the nation, there has been a series of buildings, residential accommodation for both officers and for men, particularly for pilots who, of course, you entrust aircraft worth millions of dollars into their hands. It would be very funny for these same people not to have been able to sleep well. So we have a series of accommodation provided. And beyond the issue of accommodation, one thing that's always been and remains is the fact that salaries and allowances are paid promptly, and there's nobody in the Air Force that can complain of his allowances being denied him or being delayed. We also have the fact that everybody knows that we are on a mission and everybody is carried along. We all know where we are going to, and we're actually taking steps to move in that direction. We are talking about Gusau. I can also tell you that it's just one of those new forward operating bases that have been created under the current administration. There are quite a number that have also been created in other places. The whole idea is to bring security, or to make security much more available to the people. We have places before that we did not have Air Force presence in, but right now we have this Air Force presence, and the whole idea is to ensure that we have personnel who have been trained, specially trained for defense, so as to aid internal security in those places, knowing that increasingly the main threat facing the nation is more from the inside than from the outside.
There are many that have described the Nigerian Air Force as the hero of the campaign in the Northeast. What has been the effect and impact of your intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions, especially on your operations?
Clearly, in modern times, there is nobody that can win any campaign without the air factor, what we call air power. And I'm happy to state that the Nigerian Air Force has actually lived up to expectation with respect to these current campaigns going on in Nigeria. Particularly, one area that is very key is intelligence gathering, which basically we get through our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance aircraft. We have quite a number of them in the Air Force, and we have young pilots who fly all day, all night towards gathering the required intelligence. And indeed, at the time that many Nigerians are asleep, that's when these young pilots get up to start flying. And they fly all through the night over the entire Sambisa General area, and of course in the southwest and in the south-south and other challenged areas. And when they do so with the state-of-the-art cameras on board the aircraft, they are able to gather sufficient data which is normally processed, and this intelligence is often shared with the other arms of the service with whom the Air Force operates very closely. So on occasions, it is the Army that requires the information, we give it to the Army. If it's in the Navy, especially in the maritime sector, we give it to the Navy. And if it's something that the Air Force needs to make use of, we make use of it. Another area is in the area of air interdiction, where having discovered, maybe based on intel, we've been able to discover some high-value targets that need to be put out. It could be some structures, so where the Boko Haram insurgents are gathering or elsewhere. So we have the fighter aircraft that are normally scrambled to go and carry out air interdiction. And I'm happy to note that there have been a lot of successes, and video clips of these have been made after they are declassified. They've been made available to the public on many occasions for people to see the results. We also have in the area of close air support to the ground forces during advances, during patrols. And we've worked very closely with the other services, and this is based on part of our own efforts in the current campaign. I can also let you know that one other area that the Nigerian Air Force has done very well is with respect to what we call logistics resupply. As you well know, the Sambisa General area is quite an expansive area. So we have troops that are located in various sectors of the area. So one thing that they will always need is resupply in terms of ammunition, food, medicals, and the rest. So with our aircraft, especially the Mi-17, the Nigerian Air Force has been able to support by ensuring adequate resupply to many of these units. There are also some unfortunate occasions where we have maybe a casualty or the other, or where we have somebody who needs some form of medical evacuation. One thing the Air Force has always been able to do is also carry out medical evacuation, casualty evacuation. And I can tell you an interesting development. We've gone a step further by ensuring that we have a trauma unit attached to the Mi-17 helicopter, such that even before any wounded person, for example, is flown to the hospital, he starts to receive treatment right on board. It's a recent innovation, and so there are so many other things the Nigerian Air Force has done. And I can also tell you, even in terms of troops rotation, we've always been available with our heavy and heavy transport aircraft. So I can not but agree with you that the Nigerian Air Force certainly has been a hero in the current campaign.
In the last 1 year, the Air Force leadership has continuously tried to increase the number of aircraft on your platform, taking advantage of local indigenous technology. Why this focus, sir?
Indeed, the number of serviceable platforms in the Nigerian Air Force is on an increasing high. And I can tell you that, again, this cannot be but for the intervention of the federal government. And it's in two areas. One, the reactivation of aircraft that had been grounded, and secondly, the acquisition of new platforms. We all know that the Nigerian Air Force is a highly technologically dependent service, and on many occasions we have to rely upon our Western partners and other partners towards getting the supply of spares needed to keep these aircraft in the air. So, and it comes with a lot of cost. The federal government has ensured that the needed resources have been put in place, and the Nigerian Air Force leadership has also been committed to ensuring the judicious use of these funds towards ensuring that once any aircraft develops any problem, in fact, sometimes they are anticipated, so we have adequate stock of spares, and where they are unavailable, there's prompt release of funds, especially with people like, with organizations like the Central Bank of Nigeria, also doing its part by ensuring quick remittances to those various overseas partners. So we have the spares in place, and then these aircraft are quickly repaired. Then we have some that have been grounded in the past that the current administration decided to take a concerted effort towards reactivating them. And in the past 1 year plus, about 13 aircraft that have been grounded for years have been completely reactivated and have joined the fleet. 13, and for an Air Force like us, that's a huge number. And then aside from this, we have quite a number of platforms being inducted into the service. For the trainers, we have the Super Mishak coming in. We have the MI-35M, which is the helicopter gunship, coming in. And then I can also say that we've also bought some additional trainer aircraft called the Diamond aircraft. And efforts are ongoing to acquire even more. So all these have actually made us to have an increased number of fleet. Then on a very proud note too, let me mention that the current leadership of the Nigerian Air Force has focused a lot on research and development towards developing our own indigenous capability, knowing that relying on foreign partners all the time may not be in our own interest, especially considering the current economic situation in the nation. And as a result, we have personnel, officers and men who have been trained overseas, and some with up to PhD in aircraft management. And all these have been brought to the front with quite a number of these personnel engaging in various research and development activities, especially in the area of aircraft maintenance. So in some ways too, these personnel have also added to what we have as an increased aircraft serviceability in the Nigerian Air Force now. Some of the things that before now we had to go and do overseas, we are now able to do.
That was Air Commodore Olatokunbo Adesanya, the Director of Public Relations and Information of the Nigerian Air Force. This is the much we can take on today's program. Remember to keep the conversation going via our Facebook page, STV Command Center, and also via our Twitter handle at Commandcentre16. My name is Amadin Uyi, and I am your host on this program. Do have a wonderful week. Command Center is where we tell you the ongoing successes on the war against terror. It will give you a panorama. In the face of an ongoing insurgency in the Northeast.